welcome to Roundtable Live for July 8th, 2016. I'm BaerTaffy, joined by Rock Lee, Smile, Mathis Games, Northern Lion. Welcome back to the show. How you guys doing today?
Hello.
Hey, everybody.
I'm good.
So good. Everyone's just totally obsessed with Pokemon Go, right? Just like Mathis, we're all just wandering around our apartment buildings and our houses, searching through tall grass, climbing trees, asking children where the best Pokemon sites are. It's all good fun.
Climbing
elementary school's right down the road.
Looking at accidentally discovering dead bodies.
Yeah, that's hell. That's fucking scary.
The plot to Stand By Me, you know, it's all going down. It's great.
You think people are going to be like TNTing open old mine shafts so they can see if there's like a fucking onyx inside?
God, I hope so. This is the new age, man. It's great.
I'm
You
ready
know how many
for it.
people are going to die?
You know,
If they die because of like doing something they shouldn't do because of Pokemon Go, no big loss, as far as I'm concerned.
It is a matter of time, man. Like, somebody's going to be playing it, like, on their phone, walking just right across the street and get hit by a car or something. It's bound to happen, but...
We talked about it on the show, or on the stream yesterday, where, like, if somebody... People are like, well, does Nintendo have culpability if somebody's out in a bad neighborhood at 4 a.m. trying to catch Pokemon? if you see on your phone, there's, like, a GPS pip in a bad neighborhood, and you're like, there's a Rattata there. You're like... If you get mugged or something should have gone into your head that said, "Don't go there right now." It's not a good.
You should only be doing that if it's a Moltres.
Yeah, if
true.
it's a legendary Pokemon,
Go for it.
you know, risk reward.
You've only got those little opportunities. You
I had
best not squander them.
I had a quandary last night. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. I was ready to go to bed, but then a Squirtle popped up, and I was like, "Do I go out and walk a few blocks because there's a Squirtle out there, or do I go to bed?"
Do you have, like, the
I went
push
to bed.
notifications
You
set
go
up
to
to let
bed.
you know when the rare Pokemon
Yeah, I
are
went to
showing up
bed.
around your house?
No, I was just checking it one last time to see if there's any Pokemon like within, without me having to
yeah.
leave. And then I was like, "There's a Squirtle like 2 blocks." And I was like, "Do I go get the
It's
Squirtle?"
a serious adult question you got to ask yourself right there.
I'm going to be making my own version of Pokemon Go, but it's about jelly people, and they start appearing all over the world, and every day there's another 50. Eventually you can catch them all.
This happened, like, a version of this happened on your stream a couple days ago, didn't
Yeah,
it?
I almost caught all of them in one night, actually. So
man.
I should say, by the way, that I had a bit of a dental issue yesterday. That's why I missed the NLSS, but I'm all right. I was having a weird day on Wednesday. I got a bit of heat stroke maybe from the 100-degree room that I stream from.
Something to do with it.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a
Is
combination.
your
of
computer
the two
okay? I
things.
mean, oh Jesus.
Yeah, my computer seems
That's
all
the
right. I've been
first
watching the
concern.
temperature. It went up to like 70 centigrade, which is pretty high, but it's all right, and I'm okay. And thank you for all the jelly, everybody.
Yeah, raise your jellies up. Docket today, we're going to talk a little bit about that CS:GO Lotto stuff. We're going to talk about Evolve going free to play, along with Nick's experiences with Metroid Prime VR. That's a real thing that works surprisingly well, which is fucking cool. We are going to talk about more about Pokemon
whole
Go
story.
later on down the road, as well as Adam Boyes and Nick Suttner departing from Sony, potentially big moves there as well. Poly Bridge goes into early access on Steam, and we discuss Inside, which came out on the Xbox One last week, coming out on PC this week. And then we'll start off with the CS:GO Lotto stuff. So a lot of you guys have probably already heard most of what's going on here with CS:GO Lotto. The YouTubers Pro Syndicate and Team Martin both are involved in a little bit of a scandal. They own this website, CSGOLotto.com, which is a website that you can use to gamble Counter-Strike Go weapon skins. Weapon skins themselves are not really currency, but they equate to currency because you can sell them on the Steam marketplace and then effectively turn that over into cash at a depreciated value. So there's a lot of gray area regarding whether or not the entire idea of Counter-Strike Go lottery and, gambling is actually legal in its own right. But the issue here, of course, being that these guys were promoting the website that they owned under sort of false pretenses, or what could be perceived to be false pretenses, and are now kind of trying to just, cover their tracks as we go here. It's been a developing story all week, of course. T. Martin has posted a couple of videos that have since been removed of him apologizing for the misconception of what was going on. And Syndicate's just sort of stayed quiet, which is, probably advisable in a circumstance like this, electing to just send a simple tweet a few days ago and then is now just sort of kept down low. So that's the gist of it. We're more concerned as a group, I think, about the issues of disclosure than anything else, I would imagine, though, right? It's just the matter of people not really being willing to just come forward with these paid opportunities that they have. Of course, this is an egregious example of that, given that they own the entire website, but it's still mostly like the disclosure part that we're concerned with.
I think the reason why this is such a big deal is because it's actually like 4 different kind of controversies in one. One of them that's really interesting to talk about is the legality of CSGO betting in the first place. These casino sites that have come up about it. And these have been like hugely popular on Twitch for at least the past year or so.
And have made exorbitant amounts of money.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And the same thing happened to some extent, at least with betting in Dota, but it seems like Global Offensive is really like taking it to the next level.
Yeah.
So like one element is this moral, ethical, or even does it cross the bounds into illegality? Then there's the element of, is Valve culpable for allowing this stuff to happen when they could probably step in and stop it? Then on the YouTube side, it's okay, you own the site, so that exposes you to the earlier issues, but also you're promoting your own sites without disclosing it, and then also it's a gambling website that you're promoting. So there's like 12 different little like interacting elements here that are tough to
12-layer cake of
tease
scandal.
out.
And there's
It really
also the
is.
element where he may have even, and we don't know this to be the case, but he may have influenced the outcome of the bets that he was using in the videos because he has access to the ability to do that.
Right.
That part is the only one we're like kind of alleged on. We don't really know that much.
Yeah.
But once you've gone this far.
Well, we can't say that.
Okay, you're right.
No, I
you're
was
right,
talking
I'm
to
sorry.
somebody about it the other day, though. It's like, you don't even need to really worry about that. It's like, that's almost icing on the cake in the situation where they're already in pretty hot water just with everything that they've already done. We don't have to speculate whether or not they rigged the bets because they're already just kind of caught red-handed anyway, so it's not even necessary at that point.
It's a bad assumption based on my passion about the topic as well.
It's
what
completely-
I'm more curious about, and we won't have the answer because we'll never know, but how big of an issue would this have been, if an issue at all, if this, from the start, had been disclosed as they owned the website?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
If through all their videos, whether it was in the description visibly or they said it or whatever, if that had been disclosed, where would we be where we are right now? How up in arms would people be? It'd still be scummy. It'd still be one of those like, well, is it gambling? 13 or up people are allowed to do it. It's kind of like there's no real rules or laws about it because it's such a new thing because it's skins and not money and this, that, and the other. But if there was disclosure up front, where would we be at this point? That's what it boils down to. Just out of curiosity, like for me, is where would it be?
I wonder if we would still be seeing the class action lawsuit that's actually coming to fruition that isn't necessarily as a direct result of this news story, but has kind of been in the works for a little while since these Counter-Strike lottery websites have been popping up. I think that still would have happened, even if this hadn't been blown up to the degree that it already has. So I think we still would have probably eventually gotten to this point. I wonder, though, like the thing you mentioned in that he didn't really disclose, T. Martin didn't really disclose properly within like the context of what he was saying, whether or not they were even affiliated with it in the first place, much less whether they owned the thing. But, like the way he was saying things in the video made it very clear that he was sort of, steering the audience in the direction of, I have no affiliation with this thing whatsoever.
He specifically used words that stated he was not affiliated with them.
Right.
He said something to the effect of, I just found out this new site and
it might sponsor me.
Might sponsor me, and I'm thinking of working out a deal with them where they'll give me skins to put up for videos, which obviously implies that he has nothing to do with it, right? That's not a stretch.
Yeah. No, yeah. It's pretty clear that like the language he used was not... He was not trying to let you know that he owned the site, right?
Yes,
that much is very clear.
obfuscation.
So
To Mathis's point about disclosure, and also in keeping with mine, Nick's, like I think the implication is that, if you act like you have something to hide, then people are going to pick up on that, and it blew up in a huge way here. We've all done sponsored content. As long as you're upfront about it, there's going to be a few people that are like, hey, sell out, whatever, but if you treat your audience with respect for the most part, they will actually, respond in kind and be like, we understand you got to pay your bills. Actually, this looks cool. And I don't know, we've turned down shit that is not quite as scummy as this because we haven't owned the websites. But everybody has stuff come in that's like, hey, we'll give you like $5,000 to promote our, iOS pyramid scheme. And you're like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, that's ridiculous. So one element of this, I think, like, if he had disclosed it, it still would have been a little on the shady side because it's dealing with gambling, which is just a more incendiary issue in and of itself, especially given that there's a chance for kids to use the website. But, if he had disclosed it and disclosed that he had ownership of it, I think this scandal is much, much smaller than it would be if there wasn't that, like, hey, I just found this website, which actually gives, and again, I'm not a lawyer, but it gives the impression of intent to deceive, basically.
If there was disclosure, it wouldn't even be necessarily a scandal. It would just be the question of, is this gambling? Like, where is the law? We need laws that appropriate to what's happening online. This is such a new area. It would just be a question of, okay, now we may need new laws for this stuff that, is being allowed by Valve because these sites directly link up with Steam and Valve allows that and all this other stuff. It would be a matter of, okay, this is new. What do we do with this? It wouldn't be this huge thing. But because of this, which may be a blessing in disguise, because the thing is so huge, because they didn't disclose it, now these laws will likely do something about it. I mean, like, there is a class action lawsuit against Valve which recently pulled in the two that have been, involved. But you could look at it as like, well, because they fucked up so hard, maybe now laws will catch up with what's happening on the internet with these so-called gambling.
Can't wait for that video from them. We thank them for allowing us the opportunity to let the laws become more strict about our online space.
There's a lot of stuff online that the laws don't really have application to that there should be because technology vastly outpaced our laws.
I still feel like we keep passing up the fact that even if they had disclosed it, they're still potentially gambling on a site that they own, which is in itself unethical.
Well, that's the point I'm saying.
You play like McDonald's Monopoly. It's like, if you read the terms and conditions, it's like McDonald's employees are ineligible from winning. And that's like obvious, so that you're not marketing your casino by showing like the casino owner going in and rolling like 10, double sixes in a row. I won again, right? Like, even if it actually is handled properly, you shouldn't have to be in a situation where you're on Twitter saying like, well, to the best of my knowledge, the site was operated in an ethical fashion,
legal.
In a fair fashion. You should be saying like, you set it up, you're already going to make money hand over fist on it probably. Don't show yourself gambling on it as well. But I agree that that's like the fifth thing down on the list of this controversy, which is why
so much messed up that we forget that one too.
It's funny that you mentioned the McDonald's analogy too, because the whole reason that they had to buckle down on not letting the McDonald's employees play was because there were so many documented examples of McDonald's employees rigging the system to win the Monopoly game. So there's precedent there, of course, but. Yeah, like you said, Nick. There's so many layers of this to the point where, like the point I was making earlier was that you almost don't even have to dig too deep into it. You just have to see it for the surface value and realize, you probably should have disclosed that at the start. But all the same, it's happened. It's gone down, and they're in the midst of a couple of complaints, a couple of legal filings, as well as we mentioned that class action lawsuit, but we'll see whether or not they actually end up having to have a day in court at some point. Apparently, there's a possibility of that happening, so we'll see.
I think it's frustrating for us because, fucking 5 years into this, you still don't know to disclose your shit. YouTube is no longer, or you think it's no longer this Wild West. It still is in a lot of respects, but when it comes to, advertisements and stuff, you think at this point, disclosureship should be fucking natural. You should just be doing it. FCC has cracked down, and that's another thing I guess you could say is the FCC has been getting involved more and more over the past couple of years. You'd be like, all right, maybe, especially if you've been involved with the FCC a couple of times at this point, maybe you should be, disclosing things. And if you're still not, what's the point?
Yeah.
To me, it's like a hotelier saying, I didn't know I needed to have fire extinguishers and exit signs. This is an obligation you have under doing this job as how you need to act with the public. That's just how it works. And if you haven't gotten on board by now, you've missed the point, and you need to go back and learn. And if the way you need to learn is you need to be sued or go to court, then that's, too late for you.
Maybe, yeah.
And there's no excuses. I mean, honestly, the tone that TB had when he talked about this was dead on for me. I'm super angry about this happening, and I want it to end immediately. No more of this garbage.
It makes the rest of us look bad.
That's the other problem that's annoying, is that there are people who are overreacting and being like, this reflects poorly on YouTubers, but it does, honestly. Like, scandals this big poison the well to like an enormous degree. And there have been scandals, obviously, against like traditional games writers and gaming journalists that came before YouTube and maybe even still are working to this day. But this is well and above that by like a huge factor. And I mean, I do think it poisons the well to some extent. We handle ourselves well when it comes to disclosure and stuff like that. Yep. But I guess you can't keep everybody on a leash. Where there's money to be made, people are gonna take ethical shortcuts that benefit them, I guess, but it is annoying.
Build out that metaphor even further of poisoning the well. Like YouTube, as Mathis mentioned, is this sort of infrastructure online where we're trying as we go. Like, imagine YouTube is like this native village where they're all like, there's this wild pasture and we're all getting together and we're starting to create this system of rules and everything is sort of working, and then all of a sudden somebody comes by and takes a big shit in the well. And now the well's poisoned. No, what are we supposed to do with this? No, we had a good thing going, and then you come in here and you just take a big shit in the well, and then we all have to deal with that. We all have to take turns getting the shit out of the well. We got this little cup that we use. We didn't think we'd have to deal with this problem, right? We're a very basic civilization, so we haven't caught up that far yet.
The group of us here have tried very hard to be proactive on a front like that, and transparency and disclosure, and it really hurts us to have to deal with people taking it all down like that. I've tried to make the same effort since the very beginning when I started. I want people to be properly attributed. I want people to know what I'm getting money for and what I'm not getting money for, and it really isn't hard to do.
Yeah.
There's no excuse at this point.
Yep.
That's simply my stance on it.
Yep. I think that's about really all there is to be said about it. I mean, we want to, in most circumstances, try to, give the devil's advocate an opportunity to get in here and take a stance, but we're all just sort of the opinion that this is, it's what it is for a reason, and hopefully it gets better.
Yeah, I mean, like, legally, I see a lot of people online, the vast majority of whom do not have a legal education, prognosticating about what's going to happen to these guys. I think that this is like uncharted territory, and nobody has any idea. But it'll be really interesting to see, taking it away from like the drama aspect and just in like the actual consequences. I think this is going to be an interesting precedent for what happens in the future if stuff like this goes down. Because right now you're like, I don't know, does nothing happen? Do they get a fine? Do they actually go to jail? Which would be crazy for someone to go to jail for basically the way that they operated on YouTube and outside of it. I'm not saying it's not deserved. I'm saying that I have no opinion on whether or not it's deserved because I'm not an actual lawyer or a judge familiar with this level of law. But at the same time, this is going to be very interesting to see how it shakes out.
Absolutely.
Machinima this year finally got the decision from the FTC about that like Xbox One M13 campaign that happened like 2 years ago, where they basically paid people to make promotional content for the Xbox One, and it wasn't necessarily disclosed. They got fined $15,000, I think. It'll be interesting to see how this compares.
Definitely. All right. So let's talk about Evolve going free to play, a story that, believe it or not, may be more interesting to us than the previous one. Evolve.
Because there's an argument to be had here.
Yeah.
In the first section, everybody's just going like, man, that was scummy.
That sort of sucks. Okay, so Evolve has gone, or is going free to play. If you weren't aware of it, Evolve came out last year, I think like the beginning of last year, and had an early access beta period before that as well that a lot of people really enjoyed, ourselves included. And then Evolve came out, and
then Evolve launched.
Yeah, then Evolve launched. Can you actually enlighten me a bit about like the DLC madness that went down with Evolve? Because I'm not 100% clear on it.
Even before the game came out, there was like, here's 3 or 4 different DLC packages that'll get you like many different things that made like the full game over like $100 if you wanted to get everything. Then as the game went on, monsters were paid DLC, extra classes were paid extra DLC, skins, weapon skins, that kind of thing, all ended up being paid DLC. And the game was just fucking crumbled under the weight of the DLC tree that was placed on top of it. Because I remember playing Evolve back at a PAX East or PAX Prime at some point, a year or two before it was coming out, and I went in, I was like, this looks like a neat game, and I came out and I was like, that was really fun. Like, the pick up and play aspect, it was super incredible, and we played a little bit when it was still like an early access beta phase for streamers and YouTubers and stuff, and I had a blast with it then. Then it came out, and the initial release content for the base package was really minimal. It was like one monster and like 6 hunters maybe less, maybe a little bit more. Or maybe it was like 8 hunters, 2 of each class or something, which wasn't that much. Like, you could go through that content pretty quick. And then the new monsters would come out like one a month, and they were each paid for. New hunter classes would also come out; they were all paid for, and it just crumbled under its own weight, unfortunately. And what's cool about it going free to play, at least for the announcement, is they acknowledge that. They're like, we went so far away from the magic that people walked away from when they first played it under the huge amount of DLC that was for our game. It basically killed our game. And that was the problem.
It was pretty awesome, actually, to see the post that you're alluding to. They went into pretty good detail. Yeah. They went into pretty good detail about what it was that they've been up to these past year and a half or so. And they, you know, like, they're pretty transparent. They saw exactly what happened, too. You know, like, they were there. They lived it. They experienced it. They probably were very acutely aware of it, probably more so than most of us were.
Well, you wonder how much was the developer's decision for DLC and how much of it was 2K's decision.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, especially with the verbiage of this message sort of indicates the latter over the former. But, yeah, like, I love seeing this sort of transparency from developers in that they acknowledge that what happened was a bit of a fuck-up. They're really encouraged still by how many awards the game got, how much hype the game got back in the day. And they're really looking forward to, like, this revamped version. They're hoping, like, the free-to-play launch will help to get that audience back, help to gain their trust back to a certain extent. So I think it's very important then how they handle free-to-play from this point going forward, right?
Right. I'm actually booting up the game right now because if you had the game before, you can play in the free-to-play beta essentially right now.
Yeah.
And I'll walk you through exactly what the free-to-play as of right now entails. Because it's interesting. I'm not sure I like it. I don't know if it's going to help or if it's going to hurt or if it's going to do none of the above. Basically, right now, if you jump into the free-to-play and you've never bought the game, it's your typical weekly rotation. 4 free hunters, 1 free monster every week.
Yeah.
And it'll shift unless you buy that particular hunter outright. Every day you log in, there's daily login rewards. Like, I just logged in my day 2, and I got a skin for a monster. Yesterday, it gave me 1,500 coins to spend, which is the currency you spend to buy characters, monsters, skins, classes, all that other stuff. You earn coins by playing games. You can also just buy coins outright. Every day, 3 challenges. Right now, today's challenges are win a match as an assault, support, or a kraken. It'll give you a box with something in it. Play matches as the Assault, Medic, or Goliath. If you do 3 of them, you get 50 coins. And then the other one is play matches Assault, Traveler, or Wraith, and you get 50 coins as well. You can replace the challenge each day as well. Yeah.
Where's the monetization? How is it?
It's click on store. Let's take a look. Monster skins. This is all purchased. So characters, the behemoth monster is 4,750 coins. Now I'm looking to see where I can buy coins. And I'm not seeing it readily. It's not easily accessible, at least. I don't see it.
Well, that's a positive sign, isn't it? That it's not just shoved in your face immediately.
Peculiar, honestly.
Yeah, I'm surprised that I can't just see where I buy.
Wow, this is the worst free-to-play model of all time. You can't even find a way to buy stuff.
Maybe it's not rolled out yet. Maybe they're just showing it.
It may not be rolled out yet, because I'm clicking on a monster that I can't afford, and it doesn't even say buy more points for it. It's just grayed out.
Okay.
I can't pick
it's
up.
Probably not ready then.
Okay,
So it might not be ready.
So
there you go.
But yeah, we can at least speculate of what we would like for them to do, because I think it's pretty clear at this point we all kind of wanted Evolve to be awesome, and like the way that we've all kind of hooked onto Dead by Daylight, which is sort of an inverse Evolve, sort of is a pretty clear indicator of that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I sort of I didn't think this could possibly happen, considering, you know, it's under the same umbrella that published Grand Theft Auto. But like, I almost feel bad for 2K that, like, you know, they spend 2 years working on Battleborn, maybe 3 years working on Battleborn, and then it comes out and Overwatch just kind of takes its lunch.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they make Evolve, and it's a really ambitious, like, cool game in concept, regardless about how you feel about the actual marketing and execution. And then Dead by Daylight kind of comes out, and everybody, then their mom is like playing a bunch of Dead by Daylight. It's a top seller on Steam. People are like, yeah, Evolve, remember that? What a colossal fuck up, right? They're like, we have these two games that like are both being kind of crapped on. And especially for Evolve versus, even though they're not the same game, Dead by Daylight, you have to look at that of your Turtle Rock Studios and be like, our game is
So much
better. Yeah, it's like more polished, it's more interesting. And even though it's less of a horror game and more of like an action game, you got to look at that and think like that's wasted potential. So I have no idea how they're actually going to monetize it. And I do think the issue with making a game free to play is that you're almost turning it from a game into like a platform. You're making it less of a product and more of a service. So people are like, here's the thing. Do I see people playing Evolve 5 years from now, the way people play like League of Legends, the way people play Dota? It doesn't feel like that. But if this at least gives it some life for a while, then that's pretty cool. Like, I think that basically this is a chance to rewrite the narrative on Evolve a little bit and be like, instead of this being a good or great game that's been ruined by its marketing and kind of came out like a wet fart, this is a chance for that game to actually get its chance to get out there, and then maybe when we look back on it, we'll be like, okay, that's good. And maybe they can also recapture a little bit of that, you know, investment that they made into the game, and they can make something else in the future.
It has made me, I'll say this much, it has made me want to go back and play it again.
Yeah.
But I really loved the game, and I really wanted to play it more. It's just, it got crushed under the DLC. It's just what it is.
I feel like I've mentioned this before, but isn't the difference in tone between Dead by Daylight and Evolve more about the accessibility, which I think made Dead by Daylight so much more playable and enjoyable? Because there's a lot of nuance you got to learn in Evolve. And I'm not saying it was a difficult game to learn, but I did feel a lot of the time like if I didn't do exactly the right thing, I let my team down. Whereas in Dead by Daylight, I mean, yeah, you can screw up just as much, but it's kind of like you learn it in 2 games.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think they've made steps in Evolve, reading the post, to address some of that, where some of the more critical abilities, like the portable dome, where if that trapper fucked it and missed, it was over. That is now not a trapper ability. That is a team ability, I think, that anybody can use given under the right circumstance. So it's not relying on just that one person. I think they've tried to make it more accessible with still maintaining, you know, a skill cap. Dead by Daylight is just, it's simple. It's a very simple game, and because it's so simple, there's some failings in that game itself. But yeah, I don't know how much that's going to, the skill cap, I guess, is going to hold Evolve back now that it's free to play. I almost wish they kind of, I don't know, free to play, like, I agree with Ryan, it's such an interesting decision. It's because it becomes a platform. I wonder if they just dropped it down to like a $10 purchase or something.
I think the bigger problem with Evolve is that it's old. And that doesn't mean it's bad, but it means it's so much harder to get people excited about it. That, like, my perception of this is that it's better than just letting the game fade into complete obscurity. At least, like, try to make it out here, and maybe it'll capture some community. But I still feel like in a couple of months, once the novelty of this previously $60 game being free to at least try out in a skeleton of its former self, it's going to wear off and people are going to be playing other stuff. But maybe not. I think it's interesting to think about, like, if Evolve had come out at a free-to-play, with a free-to-play model, maybe it is a little bit more successful. But when you're like, well, our game sort of, I don't want to say failed, but maybe didn't live up to expectations commercially, now we're going to rework it with a new model and hope that it works out. It's kind of like the MMO style. And I know that games like Terra and, you know, Elder Scrolls Online and stuff like that, they do capture, like, a decent community, which is awesome, but they never really, like, go from that $60 price to a free-to-play price, and now they're the biggest game in the world.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope, like, I sort of don't like the idea that this second soft launch into free-to-play can just happen for just about any one of these multiplayer experiences. Like you said, it happens most often with MMOs, but I'm starting to see it more of a pattern of these games that don't necessarily have the biggest launch, and then like a year and a half down the road, it's either the Game of the Year edition or it goes free to play, right? Like that's one or the other that we see from either AAA or just like major indie releases that don't necessarily gain the traction that they should have out of the gate.
Have you seen marketing for it that indicates any possibility that they're trying to reposition the game in its gameplay and feature set as well as just it being a monetary change?
Through the forum post that they made, this post honestly has been like the majority of the information that I've garnered about this whole thing. They really went into good detail about what they want to do with it. They talk specifics. They talk about reworking some of the classes. Like, they don't want you to have that really good trapper anymore. Like, you had to have that dome be perfect or whatever that was. So, yeah, you don't have to have that anymore. They're making improvements to the maps and UI, they say, some stability, or improving stability, fixing some bugs. So, yeah, they appear to have, like, a pretty thorough plan for revamping the experience beyond just, making it free to play and giving you different cosmetic options to try to force the idea of a relaunch just to get people to come back. But yeah, it looks like they've got a pretty good head on their shoulders about it.
Yeah, I mean, going in and logging in and seeing what I'm missing, I didn't see any hunters I was missing. So, like, this is from me, a person who owned the game, and I rather was given the game and the DLC, like, season pass from the developers when it launched. So if you had the DLC season pass, if you had all that stuff, you have everything except for, like, I think I'm missing a monster. I think there's one monster that came out past DLC that I don't have.
I was gonna say, like, if you own the game and then it goes free to play, they should really just give you like a lifetime subscription.
They should
to everything in the game. In my, also at least from a PR standpoint, if you're like, we poisoned the well with too much DLC, I'll tell you what, you believed in our game when it came out. Here's all the DLC for free if you bought it at that time. But
I'm only missing like one or two monsters, but they also give you like a good chunk of coins or keys, whatever they call them, as well, for being like a founder or whatever. I think Evolve at least benefits from being still one of the very few games in its genre. There's not a lot of these asymmetrical like 4v1 games out there, which is why Dead by Daylight, and I'll say it again, is a horribly designed game that's really fun to play with friends, succeeds because people want that type of game, but there's not many to choose from. So Evolve Soft relaunching, I guess, may do better than most just because it's a different type of game.
I mean, that was a lot of what drew us to it at the start, was the fact that it was so unique. The experience wasn't really like anything we had before.
Yep.
Yeah, but I will say, Chad's saying it looks better than Dead by Daylight. Like, Dead by Daylight.
My God, that was a disaster.
Oh, Lord.
I love the idea of it being like a Kickstarter, though. That like this is a new way to imagine a Kickstarter that you didn't even realize you kickstarted it. You bought it, you had a product for a while, and then a year and a half later, oh, it was a Kickstarter, and now I'm a backer. What?
It also raises an interesting question that I have a strong opinion about, and maybe you guys will feel differently, and we can actually argue a little bit.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because there's been a lot of like, well, I fucking bought the game for full price, and now it's free? Like, that sucks. Which is an issue that I think I understand if it happens like a month after the game comes out. Like, if you bought Battleborn for $70, and then it dropped to $40 after Overwatch's launch, you're like, man, I'm really missing out. But it is like a year and a half on from the release, and I'm kind of like, when you get on like an airplane, everybody paid different amounts for each seat. You don't go to the person next to you like, oh, how much did your seat cost? $50 less. Like, I'm gonna start a fucking riot because I paid more for this seat due to whatever reason.
Yeah.
Like, I'm interested to see how you guys feel about it, because I do see a lot of people online basically being like, this is fucking stupid. I don't play Evolve anymore, but I did buy it when it came out, so I should like get a refund or something. Like,
all right, if you want a refund, I'll give you all your money back and unlock or lock all the characters again. If you want to play it the way that people are playing for free. You're getting shit, man. You're getting shit that other people aren't getting. You bought the game, and in turn, you're getting the content you paid for.
That's what I mean. Like, if you buy something like a year ago, and then it goes on sale, you can't be like, I lost money.
Yo, 75% off of the Steam sale? I'm going to email Valve. Give me my money back.
That's my perception, at least.
I think the idea of being retroactively angry about the fact that what you spent money on is now free, as a general idea, is not healthy. You're not going to feel very good about most of your purchases if you end up going through life that way. But no, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I was gonna try to argue with you there, but I basically just agree that no, it doesn't really make that big of a difference.
Do you think that the way it should be positioned, though, and I'm up for debate on this, is that the people who buy something first get the worst version of something and pay the most?
Yeah, and that happens a lot with video games.
How do you change it, though, unless you come out with something and then actively make it worse later?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
like
just,
when a game comes
reality.
out, that should be like the worst version of the game that ever exists from that point onward. Mm-hmm. Like it should only get better after release. I think most people would agree.
Jim Sterling did a video on this pretty recently. He was talking about how the video game industry as a whole is basically the only place where we accept this as the norm, where we're buying the product and then expecting it to get better over time the longer we own it. You don't do that with anything else. You don't do that with like a car. Like you don't go buy a car and then expect the dealership to mail you new parts every time you get to upgrade your car.
Product speculation. It's like you're buying into a new company or something, and you're just hoping that you get your investment back in enjoyment or something. Like that.
Yeah. So yeah, it is an interesting precedent there too, where we just sort of expect that to be the case now, and that does change your perception maybe a little bit on whether or not you'd be upset about the fact that Evolve is going free to play now, were you to be one of those people that spent $60 on it, because we just expect that now, don't we?
Well, the problem for me is if it was like a game where the community is still really strong and there's like thousands of people playing it daily, I can sort of see it. Like if Overwatch goes free to play, which it won't, but if it goes free to play hypothetically next year and it has a community of like 500,000 people playing it a month, you'd be like, well, why am I now being asked to like be okay with this? I mean, TF2 did it, but it was like 5 years after release or 3 years after release or something like that.
Right, yeah.
But in this case, Evolve is like a multiplayer-only game that had no community or an extremely small community. So most people that are complaining, I think, haven't even played it in a while. Yeah. So to be like, well, I wasn't getting anything out of my purchase, but now other people are able to get something I have. Like the only value that you had was in ownership of the product, which doesn't make sense to me.
Is it maybe comparable to like a movie comes out, it's a blockbuster, you go pay full price to see the IMAX screening of it or whatever the hell, it costs you like $20, and then 4 years down the road, that same movie is playing in a dollar theater. Do you get mad that you paid full price for that ticket a few years ago to see it in its prime, or are you now hating everyone that's deciding to wait a few years only to be able to see the movie for $3? Is that an issue, or is that...
I don't know if that map's the same.
Does it not?
But why not, though?
Right.
Well, what I'm thinking about here, too, is there's another factor in play, and that's the size of the community and the downward spiral that online games have. So you buy in first day, you get the biggest community the game may potentially ever have, right? At the full price. There's going to be a curve, though, where the population starts to dip while the price is still at $59.99. The quality of the gameplay, bugs may be patched, game may be balanced, the quality may improve, the audience decreases. So there's a place in the middle where you get screwed the most. You get the least community for the most price, although the quality has gotten somewhat better. It's really hard to map.
There's a lot of variables
when is
there,
the game?
yeah.
It's such a moving target.
It is.
For me, it's like that people treat video games almost as like the same way that a lot of people treat like Magic the Gathering cards, where it's like it's the things themselves are a product, but also even less so in games. There's like no secondary market unless we want to get into the G2A thing again. But they treat them as an investment. Like there's almost like a little bit of personal pride in like, oh well, like you paid $15 for this game, I got it for $250 because I waited 10 extra years to buy it. So I think that for whatever reason, that commodity doesn't exist when you're talking about movies. Nobody goes like, hey, you know, I waited 8 months and I saw Deadpool for $10 off. People would be like, what's wrong with this? What? Like,
yeah.
Just, like there's no
community element that you could have that discussion that everybody was having the day after the movie hit theaters. Maybe that's the only way I could see it being a discussion.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it just becomes the community value then too has to become another variable you consider in the comparison equation.
Yeah. But I am really surprised that like I mean, I'm the pro-business guy. I'm always the guy where I say things and then chat goes, why is NL so anti-consumer? Which I disagree with. But anyway, I'm like, why, if you're 2K or Turtle Rock here, why are you just being like, people are going to feel ripped off? Why not just give them the DLC? Like, give them all the DLC like up to this point or something like that. And then they're not going to feel so ripped off. Don't give them like a couple of keys where they can buy like a chest and open it up and there's a...
Well, I have all the DLC, though. Like, I have all the DLC from the original game and the DLC Season Pass. The only thing I'm missing is, I think, the monster or two that came out after all that stuff.
Did you buy the Season Pass? Or?
No, it was, like, as full disclaimer,
Press key?
Press key. They gave me everything when the game came out. So all the DLC stuff from the Season Pass and the base game is completely unlocked. I have everything except for, like, a singular monster or two.
But that's because they gave you the Season Pass.
Right, so if you bought the Season Pass when it came out, you'll have all that stuff.
I get what you're saying, but for me, I'm like, why don't you
even give the base players who bought the game?
Give them more, because
I understand that. No,
they do have the perception of having missed out a little bit.
Yeah. No, I can see that 100%.
But I guess you're also trying to capture some extra purchases from those people to make money off of your game that is presently making like nothing, which I understand.
Mm-hmm.
My power might go out, so be aware.
Oh, all right, sweet.
Just letting you know.
Cool. Well, let's get to your segment then, real quick. You want to do that?
If you like.
Yeah,
we're done with Evolve then?
I think we're done with Evolve. Free to play,
All
right? Yeah.
Sure.
Let's talk about Metroid Prime VR. It's just fucking sweet. I just want to let you take the floor, man, because this is so cool.
All right. So last week, you might remember I was like fake crying about Far Lands and garbage like that, because I haven't really
garbage.
found
I heard Far Lands was great.
It's fine. It's just like you guys and your Vive stories every week. So I was looking for new ways to validate myself and justify my purchase of the Oculus Rift. I found that the Dolphin 5.0 GameCube and Wii emulator has added a VR branch, which will apparently allow you to play VR games out of GameCube and potentially Wii games. And I wanted to test it because, hey, I've got the system specs that can run it, and I've got an Oculus, and I've got a legal copy of Metroid Prime that I can rip the ISO from, and all is well. So I did it, and you'll never believe it, but it actually works. It actually freaking works. I can play a GameCube game in my VR headset, and it's just as immersive as I could have asked. It does have a bit of problem with the FPS lowering on occasion as it loads in shaders, apparently. But it's playable, actually, and it's very immersively cool. I'm looking forward to maybe trying to set up the Wii version so I can use the Wiimote and actually have motion sensing with it, which will take it to even another level. Because the controls are a little bit awkward, I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's playable. Puke. Yeah, as somebody who doesn't get motion sick, this did make me feel motion sick, and I had to take breaks every 20 minutes or so. But you should check out the video. I put up a little 3-minute clip of walking around in it. I might do more, although I have no idea how to properly record VR games. And the way I did it was I basically just cropped one eye and stretched it out to be widescreen.
Yeah.
See, that's what I used to do with Oculus, because Oculus displays, if I remember correctly, really shows both eyes on your screen, which is really weird.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on the application. The default Oculus stuff that I had seen from the store was displaying it as a viewable thing that would work on just regular eyes. But this emulator, for whatever reason, was outputting both eyes with full 360-degree distortion, which does not make for great YouTube viewing, but I figured it would at least give you the flavor of it. And just the fact that it actually works is just astounding to me. It was a bit of a dream of mine to actually be able to do something like that, and I didn't expect that all of a sudden one day I would wake up and go, holy shit, I can play Metroid Prime in VR. What? Yeah, all of a sudden, this is just a possibility. I haven't tried any other games yet. Apparently, there's quite a few that work in various ways. Apparently, anything 3D should be mappable. And they've got a bunch of cheats that you've got to enable, and there's instructions. And it takes about an hour to set up properly, but it was worth the time spent. What they did was they made it so instead of culling things outside of your frame of reference when you're looking through the viewport, everything around you gets rendered as well. So they had to actually hack some stuff into the code, which is why you've got to have cheat codes enabled and why this is something you can only really do through an emulator. But yeah, I answered a whole bunch of questions on the video in the comments too, so if you're curious about anything specific about it, you can either ask or read up on it there. But it really does work. For anybody out there with a powerful computer and an Oculus and a copy of Metroid Prime, go give it a try. It's a lot of fun.
That is so fucking cool, man. Like, I want
The immersion for me would be great. Just having like the Samus helmet like view screen
Yeah.
in front of you.
It was designed for VR. Like the way that the UI is set up, like there's that little thing that follows the outside edge of your perspective, and it follows your face movement. So
awesome.
it just
So
like
great.
it feels like it's supposed to be a VR game, and you're playing it as Samus.
I was gonna make a
So
joke
badass.
about how lazy those devs were back in 2004 to not allow for better frame rates for VR headsets in 2016. Geez, shame on them. But no, apparently they did think enough in the future to make it better.
I truthfully believe that in maybe 6 months it'll be so optimized that it'll just be perfect. Like there's almost nothing wrong with it now, except for the motion sickness problem, which I'm not sure there's a way around. But it could be worse.
So about how long could you play it before you started to feel a little woozy?
I was taking breaks every 20 minutes or so, and I would recommend you do the same. Well, you'll know. If you're not prone to motion sickness, there are people that have no problem with it. Just play as much as you want, but, be careful. You don't want to vomit.
Yeah.
Oculus is kind of expensive. You don't want to get puke on it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm stoked about it. Honestly, I think it's pretty great, and I wanted more people to know. Signal boost. You can play Metroid Prime VR. That's pretty fucking cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Don't tell Nintendo, though. I don't want to get my YouTube channel shut down.
Oh shit. It's too late now.
Well, let's run that risk even higher. Talk about Pokemon Go.
Whoa!
Woo! Pokemon Go. It's the new ARG mobile game where you go catch Pokemon in the real world. It's a thing. It actually happened.
What do you actually do in Pokemon Go?
So you get your phone out, right? You gotta sign up. You gotta allow it all these accesses to your phone. You gotta let it see your media files, your camera, your contacts, all that stuff. It's okay. Just do it. And then you'll sign in with an email or with login, whatever you want to do, and you'll get your little Pokemon gym leader guy. No, it's the professor, right? He shows up. He's like, "Hey, this is a Pokemon game. I'm the professor. I'm obligated to show up at the beginning to teach you what to do." And then you are a Pokemon trainer. And you see like this little map, this map display shows up on your phone, and it's the map of where you actually are. So I was seeing like my neighborhood was showing up on my phone. Yeah, I know this is probably frightening some people already, but you can walk around, like actually get up and physically walk around, and you'll start to see like these little notifications pop up of there being Pokemon nearby. And if you go up to them, you can like the pass-through camera on your phone will activate, and you can see the environment around you through your phone like virtual reality, and then you can like throw a little Pokeball and catch Pokemon. And that's basically it, more or less. There's other parts, but that's the gist of the game.
There's battling. There's like Pokemon gyms that are represented, like it's landmarks in your area. It can be Pokemon gyms. You can go there and fight, and if you win, you are the leader of that gym, and people can come. You don't have to be there. You can leave. And then people can come to the gym and fight the Pokemon you won with and try and take over. There are different teams, so you can join like red team, blue team, and you can fight for these gyms. There's also Poke Shops, which are other landmarks. You can go, you get free Pokeballs and other items that can boost your Pokemon and whatnot. There's Poke Stops, which is just like an area where more Pokemon will end up showing up. You can use items to attract Pokemon, so there's like a lure you can buy if you want. For 30 minutes, it'll track Pokemon to that Pokestop that you're at, and everybody who has Pokemon Go benefits from it. And Pokemon will show up in certain areas. So if you want water Pokemon, you need to go to an area where there's water.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if you want like a Tentacool or something, you need to go to like a beach or a lake and that kind of thing. Cities have more normal type Pokemon like Rattatas and Pidgeys and stuff. So if you want different types of Pokemon, basically it's a way to get you to go outside and like move and give you a reason.
I'm going to blatantly steal this joke. Somebody said, like, it took Michelle Obama 8 years to get kids to go outside, and Nintendo did it in 24 hours with Pokemon Go. Just everyone and their dog is playing this game now, and it's... All right, so I want to state a controversial opinion in that I don't think the game itself is very fun. I feel like it's just like, the actual thing you do on your phone is sort of uninteresting and bland, but it's the idea of what Pokemon Go is that makes it like this cultural phenomenon that it's become. Because this is the thing.
It's a cultural phenomenon?
It is, seriously. Like, everyone is talking about this.
It's like a DS Street Pass game.
Okay, and you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But, like, the reason people are so excited is because this is what we've wanted to do since we were kids, is go out in the real world with our fancy little tablet and go catch Pokemon in the forest behind our house.
You guys, you want Pokemon to be real life. Nick's ideal for games is to be able to play 14-year-old games in a new VR headset.
Yeah. You know what? I'm an awful person because I just said my dream was to play Metroid Prime in VR, and then I'm shitting on Bear for his... Sorry, man.
I'm not even like a big Pokemon guy, but I can totally see the appeal to this.
I do too. It's fun. It feeds on that collectathon urge. If you're one of those people who enjoys just kind of collecting things, there's reason to go out and do it. I don't want to say forces, but it encourages social interaction, to go out and walk and do exercise for kids who don't. Like, the eggs don't hatch unless, like, if you get eggs, they don't hatch unless you walk or bike a certain amount of distance before they do it. It's just a reason to go out, and there's really zero reason to spend any money in this game. It gives you everything you can buy in spades often. You never need to spend any money. There's no reason. It's just a thing to go out and do.
The genre is real world adventure, which is exciting enough on its own. That's how they officially list it. And yeah, I think just the idea of, like, I think the thing that makes this the best, in my opinion, is that it does encourage real world interaction with other human beings. Like, this is something that is going to get kids to go out of their house and meet other kids that they wouldn't have necessarily interacted with were it not for the fact that they both were playing Pokemon Go on their phones, right? So, like, that's a pretty cool little aspect of our daily lives now. Like, kids will meet adults who will not have to have an awkward interaction, and instead they can just talk about the Pokemon on their phones. It's great. It's open up a whole new universe for everybody for social experimentation.
And supposedly, like, the rare Pokemon will be in, like, these really big world landmarks, like at the top of like a hikeable mountain or something. Like, that's where you'll find some rare stuff, and that's where you can go get it. Now, I have no reason to be cynical about it. It's fucking free. You don't need to spend any fucking money, and it's Pokemon, and it's better than Miitomo was. So there you go.
I'm actually, like, as much as I might sound cynical, I think it's actually cool, and it's innovative in a way. It's kind of like a strangely social game that isn't just like invite 10 of your Facebook friends or your tomatoes will die. So like I'm actually into that, and it reminds me a little bit of Ingress. I guess
that's the same company.
Oh, I did not know that. That's a very astute move for Nintendo to recognize.
What is Ingress? I don't remember.
It's an alternate reality game, basically, or an augmented reality game, I guess, where instead of being like Pokemon themed, you are like a cyberpunk spy, and you set up like nodes in your area for your team, and then anyway.
It's like the same. Apparently it's like it's kind of a reskin of Ingress, basically a Pokemon reskin of that.
But I will say, again, like, everybody wants different things from games. This is cool, but for me, I mostly still just want to, like, be sat down with a controller and play something that's mechanically, like, really good. And I already, like, actually go outside. Like, I'm like, I don't need to go to the top of a mountain to catch a Kangaskhan, you know?
I do.
I'll be near the mountain, I'll be like, the mountain looks dope, that's amazing, you know? Like, there's implicit benefit there for me, but I guess, like, it's cool that it is making people... It's affecting people's actual lives, at least right now. That's neat.
Yeah,
I can't be too cynical about it.
I was gonna say, I don't see the reason for people to shit all over it, because like if it was like a cash grab, like if there was like a million different things you could do without spending money, then go for it, be cynical all you want. But there's zero money incentive spending. Just no reason to.
Can you imagine though, like you're walking around and you see like this gate that you have to pay 50 cents to unlock to physically pass a barrier to get a Pokemon? That'd be awesome.
Well, that's the cool thing, which I'm happy about too. Like you don't have to be standing in the spot the Pokemon is. You just need to be in the area and it'll appear and you can just touch it and you can go ahead and capture it and do what you want.
I will say though, if I'm like going to the grocery store and there's like a huge crowd of people at the door, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, oh, there's an electrode in the doorway. My opinion will change.
You're not looking forward to that reality? Come on.
It will change on a dime if I can't get around to places where I need to go because there's like a Pidgeotto or something. I'll be like, this is dumb, and honestly, the government should ban it.
There's a fire downtown, but the fire department can't access the hydrant because there's a Geodude nearby. The whole town is in chaos.
I hate to be this guy, but I have to assume that they're going to monetize it eventually, right?
Monetized.
It is monetized.
It is monetized. I thought you said it was free.
You download it for
He's
free.
saying
yeah.
like the things that you can
So
buy
there's a
are
cash
in
shop.
like no way, shape, or form necessary.
You can buy Pokeballs if you want, but every time you level, they give you like 30.
I think
and
it's
leveling
50
is,
actually, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
it's an
I
absurd
have like
amount.
over 100 Pokeballs already.
Yeah.
I have more than I need. You can buy basically what you can buy is like community boosting things. So you can buy a Pokemon lure that you can use at a Pokestop that will for 30 minutes attract wild Pokemon. Every other Pokemon Go user benefits from it. That's in the area. There's that.
Do you, like, when you battle, like, if your Pokemon faints, do you have to go walk to, like, Central Park to get it revived? Like, how does that
every
work?
time you level, they give you like a bunch of revives that you can just use. But I haven't battled yet because battling only happens at certain public spots. You don't battle otherwise. You just throw Pokeballs at the Pokemon and catch them.
Yeah.
And do we know how the algorithm works that it determines where a Pokemon shows up? Like, does it actually have information about the altitude of a mountain to know that it should have something rare at the top?
It seems like
knows
the game like actually pulls from physical geographical data for what seems to be like 99 to 100% of the display that it shows you. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it knows a good amount of your environment and what's going on around you.
But it has to be somewhat procedurally made from a series of rules, because there's no way they've, like, mapped site-specific information to everywhere in the world.
Well, if you go to like a landmark, you click on the landmark, it shows you a picture of the landmark, the name of the landmark, and you swipe on it, and you get stuff.
Like, I think really it could honestly just be like a cache of Google satellite imagery that they're pulling from, because like I'm pretty
sure it just uses like Google Maps or something.
Yeah, I'm sure it does, because there's like a photo of like the entrance to my neighborhood that looks like it was taken at ground level. So those are probably throughout the game. So it's an interesting speculation there of what they're actually building that off of. But it does
leads me to
like,
speculate that it wouldn't be available everywhere if not, right? Like, I live in the middle of nowhere. They probably just don't have shit here.
yeah,
I have
that's
Pokemon. Yeah,
that's
I mean,
potentially true. Like, yeah, Mathis, you were saying that
I have
around
no
you-
major landmarks near me, so I have like no Pokestops and no gyms within like I have to drive like 10 minutes out. But I live in a suburban rural area, so I get a lot of normal type Pokemon in my area. I have seen no water type because I'm not near an ocean or anything, and that kind of thing. But like your typical Rattatas, Pidgeys, Fearos, Spearows, like those have been in abundance near me.
All right, just curious.
Yep. All right, that's
Right
Pokemon
now.
Go. It's a good time, man. Okay. The thing that we do have to mention here, and the fact that we've now seen yet another variety of Pokemon game. Where the fuck is the MMO? Why is there not a Poke MMO
We've been asking
yet?
for an MMO from Pokemon for like since
How have we
2002.
gotten
Save it
to
for the NX.
We've gotten to the ARG, and there's still no Pokemo for us to peruse. Pokemo. I'm trying to combine them. It sort of worked out. Pokemo. Just killing time. All right. Off from Pokemon Go into news of PlayStation company departures. PlayStation VP of the VP of Publisher and Developer Relations, Adam Boyes, has left the company, along with Nick Suttner, who was considered by many to be the PlayStation Indie Game Ambassador. Over there, let me. How am I going to fit this in the box? PlayStation people.
like a-
Yo.
Of chilling outside in the parking lot, like
Goodness,
right outside my window.
We've lost everyone. Are we just all? We're just gonna go.
What?
We're all just gonna leave, I guess. All right, yeah, we're just gonna leave the.
Oh, where'd they
podcast.
go? What the hell?
I'm out. No, we're
All
done.
right.
We're done.
All right.
Fuck it. We need to do a show. Who's doing a show here? No one.
Sorry about that, guys. I had to shut my window before the rain hit my hard drives. I didn't want to interrupt.
This is great. No, this makes perfect sense. I'm glad we did it this way. All right, good systematic departures there, everybody.
Sorry, I had to pee really bad.
PlayStation people have departed from PlayStation. Adam Boyes left Sony, says he's hoping to return to game development. And Nick Suttner, who, as I mentioned, was the PlayStation ambassador to indie games, we saw him quite a bit, as well as the author of the Shadow of the Colossus book, which I really enjoyed. He has left the company as well, off to greener pastures. He says currently undisclosed what he's planning on doing, but Adam Boyes actually planning on joining an independent developer that has not yet been disclosed. So, yeah, big news here. Adam Boyes has made a lot more appearances in Sony's E3 presentation since he's joined the company. He also was part of that video that spawned from, I think it was the 2014 E3 press conference of Sony responding to the Xbox One's inability to share games with others. So they had Shu and Adam doing the... You remember this? It was like an 18-second video or something like that on the PlayStation channel of... Yeah, okay. So there's... That's Adam Boyes' internet claim to fame as well.
Yo, Ratata just showed up. Continue.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
Wait, did Mathis just change his shirt?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
I thought it was all gray before, and I when we started it, I was like, dude, he doesn't have his red sleeve shirt on.
Oh, no.
I don't know what you're talking
And now he
about.
does.
Adam Boyes left. I don't know what you're talking about.
Sorry,
do
I'm
this.
losing my mind, apparently. I really thought Mathis changed shirt.
No, I think he's punking us. I
Changed
think
his shirt for sure.
he changed it. Son of a
What the
bitch.
hell?
Change
Why
shirts.
is the shirt pre-wrinkled?
That's a good question. You a non-ironer?
I don't know what you're talking about.
This guy.
He's just going to keep playing it off. He thinks he's Dan Giesling
Plausible
over there.
deniability. Yeah.
Dan Giesling. Dan missed.
Any thoughts on Adam Boyes departing from PlayStation, guys?
Yeah, I think that this is interesting from a culture standpoint, which is that Sony has been way ahead of the curve when it comes to Nintendo and Microsoft at getting indie stuff on their platform. I don't know how much of that is, Adam Boyes in particular, but you can see that, on Twitter when he announces that he's leaving Sony, a bunch of developers chime in and go like, oh my God, that's huge news. Like, thank you for what you did, Sony, for us. Nick Suttner, in particular, also brought a lot of indie stuff to PS3, PS4, and Vita. And last year, Shahid Kamal also left Sony, and he was instrumental in doing a lot of that stuff as well. So I don't know if this necessarily has long-term implications of like Sony not going to be as indie friendly as they used to be, but I think it is pretty surprising that a lot of the team that kind of instituted that culture or seemed to institute that culture are now moving on. And I think all of that, well, except I don't think Nick Suttner has announced what he's doing yet, but they've gotten back into game design or game development, which is really cool. It shows that they're actually like passionate about the industry and they weren't just suits that were doing it, for a paycheck or something like that. So it's neat that they're kind of stepping back from the corporate side, and they're actually going to get their hands dirty again in whatever role they're going to take. So I think that's it's cool news, and moreover, it's just kind of like a nice time to say, I guess, thanks for helping to make indies. Thanks for making my Vita like an awesome thing to take on an airplane with me, so I can play a lot of the stuff that I play on PC as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam Boyes, of course, has a pretty extensive games industry career, preceding his time with PlayStation. He spent a few years over at Capcom as a director of production. He was a producer over at Midway Games as well before they went defunct a few years ago. And then I think that was, he's also a QA manager at Next Level Games. Not really sure where they're at now, but yeah. So he's got the experience. He'll bring some power, some gravitas wherever he ends up going. I'm very curious to see whether he's planning on starting up a label himself or if he's joining an already established team. I suppose we'll find out soon.
Do you think Sony's indie initiative is going as strong as it was 2 years ago? Because I feel like it's not.
Why is that?
Well, mostly what they showed at E3, they really didn't put much time on it. And in general, I haven't seen much in the way of new releases being hyped up. But I think they do exist.
Mm-hmm.
It might just be a perception issue.
Nothing will ever top No Man's Sky.
At E3,
Second coming of gaming Christ.
Right.
I think at E3, I'm just glad that the Sony conference was like AAA stuff because it's like a big event, I guess.
Yeah.
But like they did have at E3, they had like an indie section that maybe was like an indie mini booth sort of size. It had like 16 games set up back to back. But I think we're guilty a lot, or at least I am. I won't speak for you guys, of like, if a game comes out simultaneously on PS4 and PC, I'll never learn that it's on PS4.
Yeah, I think you're right. Maybe that's all it is. I just don't see the other side of it, maybe.
The only time I ever notice is when something comes out for consoles first. And then I'm like, oh, backwards.
Sanctuary. Yeah.
Indie developers, when's it coming to PC? Blah, blah, blah.
I think in this year's E3 presentation in particular, you may be right in that there wasn't as much time spent on the indies. It seemed like, at least in the years preceding it, since Adam has been a part of the presentation, like we've definitely seen a showcase on the indie portion of their presentation, right? Like they make it a point to see, like, and here's the indie time, and make sure you support all these little fellas, but that didn't really happen this year. I wonder that very, very well maybe simply because they had so much shit to show this year that they really just didn't have enough time to fit the indies into the spotlight. But I don't necessarily see them becoming any less favorable of indies at this point. I think it's probably just stayed at about the same rate of indie production as they had in the previous few years. And I don't know if I should go so far as to concern myself with whether or not the departure of Adam Boys is an indication of that being diminished, but it is probably worthy of consideration at least.
I guess I was just considering the momentum that they were trying to establish, where for a couple of years it seemed like they were really going over the top to emphasize that they were well invested in the indie space.
Yeah.
And any stepping back from that, I just wonder if it kind of is a bump in the road, or it's just a perception thing, like I said.
Yeah, I think right now they've got to have their sights set pretty heavily on PlayStation VR. I imagine they've got a lot of investment in that right now, and they've got so many major IPs and new properties coming along the way that maybe the indies have had to take not a backseat but a sidecar to what else has been going on the PlayStation front.
And I guess like the diminishment of Vita as like a parent platform. I don't want to say legitimate because like there is still stuff coming out for it, but definitely like 3 years ago it was like 3DS and Vita. Now it's kind of like 3DS and
especially
Vita.
Overseas, right? I've heard that like everyone in Japan basically has a 3DS.
Yeah, it like sold 75 million units or something ridiculous like this, but like the Vita is definitely on the descendancy, which is not a knock on it as a platform. It's just sort of it's fading a little bit or a lot actually, and that's where like most of the indie stuff was coming out that I was interested in at least. But I think we're also guilty of not being in that sphere a lot.
I quite enjoy my Vita, and I would still be buying stuff for it if there was more to buy, but it just seems like they're not really worried about it anymore.
Yeah. All right. I'm just going to straight up recommend that everybody get Nick Suttner's book also, because I think it's really, really good. If you have any interest in Shadow of the Colossus at all, it's on Boss Fight Books. Good read. I liked it a lot. Okay, let's go to Polybridge, which entered early access this past week. I think, so the story with their release schedule is interesting.
Maybe it entered beta this past week.
It's kind of confusing, man.
Because it's been on early access since like last
June or something, right?
I got a DM from Tom saying Polybridge he has final review codes now.
Oh, okay.
So that's what we're getting, and I feel like maybe it's just about to go out of early access.
But it passed the date that it's supposed to be released, and I have that code that you just mentioned, and it's still on early access. So what was the embargo?
Now, when you say it's past the date that it was due to be released,
the embargo date.
Okay, but the release date on Steam is June 30th, 2015.
So Polybridge
2015, I didn't read the year.
May or may not be out in early access or beta or full release or something, but it's on Steam. It's there.
I don't know what's up with that, but it's a fun game, man. I played a little bit of it, of what I think is the final version, maybe?
Yeah, tell me about
Polybridge. Okay, here's the email. Polybridge to launch July 12th.
Okay, so that's...
Oh, wait, it's not out?
So Polybridge is currently in early access on Steam, due for a full release on July 12th. That is a correct statement as far as we know.
All right.
Okay.
It's only a few days away.
Cool. Tell me about it, though, Nick. Tell me about your time with
All right,
Polybridge.
So it's a very simple, relaxing puzzle game that involves physics, and essentially you're tasked with building a bridge in every scenario that allows a car or truck or motorcycle or moped or some vehicle of some kind to cross from point A to point B, and sometimes to point C and D. But it starts out very simple, as often iterative puzzle games do, where you get just a few little basic, wooden bits that you can put together, and then you test it, and then the car will roll on, and you see based on the weight and your placement of the struts and supports if the physics you created will support that vehicle at its weight. And it even shows you analysis of like the weight distribution over time, and it actually takes that very seriously, the whole the trying to map reasonably realistic version of that. So as you go on, you earn more and more tools and make more and more complex bridges. And it's just a very relaxing, chill experience. There's this lovely acoustic music playing. It's got a great, very stylized visual theme. It's named Polybridge. It all has this sort of a polygon aesthetic to it. It's just very comforting to play that game for some reason. It doesn't feel like even if you do something wrong that you did something that wrong. You're just kind of in it for the long haul to get better at it, learn as you go, and eventually make the ultimate bridge. Apparently it gets extremely complex. I'm only about an hour into it, but I have a feeling it's going to get to the point where we probably will need to pull in Michael A. L. Fox to help me do the engineering involved. And I think there's a sandbox mode, too, that lets you just go freeform.
I was wondering if they had some sort of sandbox creative mode for this, and sure enough,
it
showed up in the trailer as soon as I said that, so there we go. Perfect.
Seems really fun. None of you guys got to play it at all?
I played it like a year ago when it first entered early access on Steam, and I pretty much had exactly the same opinions as you. And people in chat are like, well, what's the difference between this and like every other bridge building simulator that's been out for like 10 years? Well, the difference is for like 5 years, the only bridge builders that came out on Steam all aped that same kind of like generic 3D art style that was sort of like half-assed. I mean, I don't mean it's half-assed. It just looked kind of ugly. Whereas Polybridge is like less serious, even though it uses real-world physics, and more social and shareable, but also colorful and cute. Like, the aesthetic is definitely a big part of the charm in Polybridge, and I think it makes it a lot more accessible, because instead of being like, this is a fairly poorly modeled series of cliffs and rocks and the lake below it, it actually looks like a cartoon sort of, and it's a little bit more approachable. And the physics that it actually creates with the vehicles and the situations that it creates are much more enjoyable to watch, because instead of just like, oh, the strut broke, there's lots of situations where you're like, my monster truck flipped over, but it still managed to like roll its way into the exit and finish the level, even if it's not how I originally intended it to go. Plus, it has like Nick said, it has a sandbox mode or a level editor where you can like create your own custom challenges. So that's the appeal of it, I would say now. But you know, there are free games out there, I suppose, that allow you to do a reasonable facsimile of that. But I've had a great time with it as well.
I think it's important that they went for a combination of taking the simulation element seriously, but also making it accessible, where it doesn't feel like you're about to head into like an engineering course in college. You actually just feel like you're learning how to play a puzzle game, but you're also doing some sort of engineering.
Yeah.
So for me, that made a big difference, because if it's a really daunting thing like you're doing the Euro Truck Simulator and you've got to learn how every element of the truck works, sometimes there's a bit of a wall there for people. Maybe it's not that big of a wall, but there's still a wall. In this case, I felt like there was almost no resistance to learning, and the tutorial as you start up was quite nice too. It really didn't leave much to chance. It kind of forces you to do all the things you got to do.
See, that's typically what ends up turning me off to games like this, is where you get presented at stage 1 or 2 with, you know, build this Evel Knievel ramp and jump across to freedom, and then stage 10 comes along and it's like, build this truss bridge with 3 supports that requires X amount of pressure on the left side, and, you know, like all this nonsense that you eventually become a master of, and then, you know, you're playing City Skylines and you become a traffic simulator, and that's your life now. So I'm glad that's not this. And I've also seen like a lot of GIFs shared of this game for like the last year and a half or so. So I'm actually kind of excited to try it out for myself now. So there we go. Polybridge. Good?
Polybridge.
Can I bring up this breaking story that's coming up right now in chat?
Sure, yeah. Is it going to get us in trouble?
I hope not. IGN just used one of my videos, apparently, to, and I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, good. That's great.
Quick!
Hold on.
Copyright strike.
IGN.com. Breaking
Metroid
story.
Prime in VR is a Metroid fan's dream come true.
Is
and
it?
It's, I think, I'm going to watch the thing and see if it's actually true, but that's what they posed in chat.
Is it your dream come true?
Please credit me if you're
Metroid fan YouTube user Rockley Smile? Is that the guy?
Well, I got to watch an ad first.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
Sorry, you can riff for a second. I'm just
I was
waiting
just
for
going
this
to say
to load.
Polybridge is available July 11th is what we said, right? Or 12th? July 11th or 12th? 12th.
It's July 12th.
Okay.
2016.
Yes. So, it's been in early access, coming out of early access July 12th, 2016. It's Polybridge. Did they credit you, Nick?
Yeah, it's my video. I haven't watched the whole thing, but it's definitely my video.
Sweet.
All right.
Hey, Nick's on IGN. Fun. Let's talk about Inside for a bit, shall we?
I have not played it yet.
I can't wait to play it. It looks so good, and I've heard nothing but good things about it.
I'm gonna keep this completely spoiler free, so no worries there if you want to play the game yourself. Inside it's okay. I'm gonna call it Limbo Plus, but I say that in like the best way possible because this game took everything that was great about Limbo and just expounded upon it and made it just totally fantastic. It's riveting. It is a joy to play and experience the story along with this kid. Like, you see the trailer for this game, and you get pretty much the gist of what you're going to be doing. That gives you a really good idea of the gameplay and of the way that you're going to progress. But even having seen those scenes and watching them play on the trailer, just like the feeling of being the boy and going through them yourself it's completely immersive. It's totally wrapped me around my own head. It's awesome. So I could only sing my praises of it here. I'm nearly done with it, I think, although I don't know for sure. I'm playing it blind, so about.
Are you looking at the like when you go to the loading bar, it shows you like roughly your relative progress through the game?
Yeah. And
so how far are you into that, do you think?
I think I'm probably like 85 to 90% of the way through that. So I'm pretty sure I'm like nearly to the end of the game. But I love that.
And how long have you played so far?
I think, well, let's actually do the math on it because I've uploaded the whole playthrough here. So it's going to be like, I want to say like 3 hours.
Okay, so it's roughly 3 hours then.
Yeah,
probably.
It's probably a 3 to 5 hour experience, I'd say, overall. So Limbo was pretty similar to that, too, wasn't it? It was something like 5 to 6 hours, I think, to play through all.
Limbo was like 2 hours.
Oh, it was? Really? Okay.
Limbo was short.
Yeah.
All right.
And actually, like, I've only played like an hour of Inside so far, but I'm like 40% of the way done. So like 2 to 3 hours seems to be, you know, roughly accurate. Let me check my playtime in Limbo though.
Yeah, please do.
I actually really like that target time of 2 to 3 hours. I think you can get a really good, impactful story in right about there. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you drag it out to 5, and it sort of starts to get a little too diluted. So I generally like that playtime.
Yeah, like I have 4 hours in Limbo, but I remember that I was playing it through like on one file and then doing it again to record. So I'm pretty sure that the game itself is like 2 hours long, but it depends on the, you know, your acumen with solving puzzles. So it does seem like it kind of hits that same time limit, unless maybe there's like a crazy puzzle in the middle that is going to take me forever to solve. But I don't know.
I doubt it. But
if Bear got through it, then
right.
If this idiot could make it through, I can do it.
There's again, no spoilers, but the puzzles themselves. What I really enjoy about this game all the way throughout is that they never really rely on something that they gave you in the past. It's like the progress that you make always feels unique. And it feels unique to the area that you're in. And the way that they do that, I can't really describe it without ruining too much, but it's so satisfying. There's so many moments in this game that just felt so genuinely rewarding just as a gamer to figure things out on my own so organically and to see progress made as a result of just me being like inquisitive enough to try something and see if it works. So like there was a ton of moments like that in Inside that were just so satisfying to me, and I can't stop recommending it to people. It's so good. I'm
excited.
It's everything Limbo was multiplied by 3, and it's great.
Why not 4?
I don't know. Seemed like a better number. Ryan, similar thoughts?
Yeah, no, I like you looked at it, I think, as it's coming out, and you're like, you know, why is this taking like 3 or 4 years to come out, or 5 years to come out? Mm-hmm. And then as soon as I played it, and I played for like half an hour, so I got to experience like the transition between environments and stuff like that, you realize this is actually like a much more ambitious game than it might have appeared from like a conceptual standpoint. It's not just a sequel to Limbo. The amount of like detail and depth in the environments is really impressive, and it's a really, really beautiful looking game. Like especially the way they play with like dynamic shadows and lighting and stuff like that is amazing. And I'm still really early into it, but the puzzles seem good so far, and I think they do a really good job from a design standpoint. Oh my God, there's some soup coming in.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Thank
soup!
you.
Hi, Kate.
Gotta get
Thank you.
that extra hot soup in for those cold area monster hunts.
I think it's a really good exercise in game design of like showing you how to make good puzzles. Like when they give you a puzzle, they usually do a good job of introducing like one element, and then you see how that element actually like interacts with the system, and then they throw in like a second element, and that multiplies the complexity by 4, and then you just kind of solve that, and then you move on. But also a great exercise in showing instead of telling from a narrative standpoint. I can't tell you how happy I am that it doesn't open with a scene that says the year is 3000 and blah blah have taken over the world. I don't know if this is actually the story. The fact that you just see the stuff happening in the background is way cooler because you're asking all these questions. And the narrative questions that you have also interact, at least thus far, with the actual puzzle mechanics of the game, which is really cool.
I agree. With it being a puzzle platformer, it sort of has this... it gives the developers the ability to spend way more time polishing things that you wouldn't otherwise focus so much on as you're playing through a game. Like, the amount of things that they needed to polish was finite enough to where they were able to dedicate a ton of time to making those facets of the game stand out even more. So, like, for example... There's a situation where like you're running away from dogs and you have this fence that you're trying to climb, and then there's like a door that you have to get through. So in that area, in that frame of the game, you only have like 4 things total that you're worried about. You have like yourself as a player, that fence, that door, and then the dogs that are coming to get you from either side. So because of that, the developers can actually focus so much on just those things, making those like as engaging and as unique as they can, to where every time you mess up, it feels like the way that you see it go down, that looks like what was supposed to happen in the story. You know what I mean? Like you'll watch the character respond to being mauled by dogs, and then it'll like fade to black, and you can almost see that and look at it and think, oh yeah, that looks like the way that this story was supposed to play out, even though obviously that was like a fail state and you just reset back to the previous spot. I'm really impressed with the amount of polish that they put into this game. It looks phenomenal, and every scenario that I've encountered has just been almost breathtaking in instances. Like it's remarkably good.
Is there any way to frame what it's about that's not a spoiler, or is this just one of those games where you just have to play it?
If you played Limbo, like, the thematic sense you get from that is very similar. So that's about as much.
Is there like a general theme that it works on, or is that also... I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, no, I don't even want to answer the question, to be honest with you.
Okay, fair enough. Just move on then.
Yeah, I know that you'll love it if you play it, so I think you should. Like, you specifically, Nick, I'm saying. Like, I don't want to spoil it for anybody else, but I don't want you to hear it.
You wake up in a Martian hospital and punch your way out of the facility.
You get a shotgun,
get a machine
right
gun,
yeah.
just start shooting
out of this
aliens.
world, basically.
Exactly, it's out of this world. Exactly.
Yeah.
It'll be Doom 2.
Mm-hmm. You gotta make sure you jump over that little leech though, or it'll grab your ankle.
Right.
There's actually, instead of saying like what is the game about, I do think it is a huge, like, it's an asset to compare it to its influences. Like, Out of This World is a huge influence on this game. And I think it was a huge influence on Limbo as well. Because what you do is, it creates a tone and an atmosphere of uneasiness. And then when you're interacting with the environment, you're like, there's something over there. I don't know if it's a plant or if it's some kind of, like, life-sucking creature that is going to latch onto my face and kill me. So it really does a good job of kind of like subverting your expectations, I think, in that sense.
Cool.
Indeed.
I've already heard people throwing around 2016 Game of the Year, so I'm very curious to try it.
It's no Rocket League.
Yeah, I'm still going to personally give that to Overwatch probably, but it is I wonder if I'm overselling it, but I don't think I am. Like, I think this actually is like just an outstanding game. It's really, really good. So I think everyone should play it. $20 on Steam. Available now on PC. Came out last week on the Xbox One. It's Inside from the makers of Limbo. And it's real fucking good.
Hooray!
That'll bring us to everybody's favorite segment. It's Ask Roundtable. Every week, you can send in your questions to roundtableyt@gmail.com, and we will do our best to answer them. This week's kind of a unique situation. We're doing a little bit of a melding of our favorite segment and other favorite segment here with Ask Roundtable this week. This question comes from one of our $20 patrons on patreon.com/roundtable, actually, the Scroddy119. So thank you very much, Scroddy, for your continued support over there. He says, can you, Bear, Northern Lion, and Mathis, flip the script on Nick and each try to stump him with one of your weird games from your collection? And I said, probably not, but we'll try. We'll do our best. So here we go. With this week's Ask Roundtable, Scroddy asks us to stump Nick in our inverse edition of Nick's Weird Games, which we're calling Games Weird Nick.
Hell yeah.
Perfect.
All right.
This might be easier to do than you expect, by the way. You have to keep in mind I'm always coming from the perspective of knowing the game that I bring to the table. So
True, but I think you overestimate our ability to collect weird games as well as you do. So
maybe.
We'll see if the balance is struck somewhere. Anybody want to volunteer to start? I don't really know where we should go.
I got
this.
one.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, all right. We'll start with me. It's a Super Nintendo game from 1994.
Okay.
It was published by Enix and developed by Quintet and Ancient. So Enix before they were Square Enix. Let's see. The story is you are on the planet of Quintinix, because it's original, where the situation has long been peaceful. A group calling themselves the Hackers, headed by Blackmore, suddenly starts an uprising against the population by disrupting the peace of the town called Rococo. The main character, who appears to be nameless, is the son of a famous inventor, Dr. Akihabara, who decides to move to Rococo. The main character soon sets off to find out that the hackers want the doctor for a sinister purpose, and he refuses to join them.
Oh, Hactor, a weird hacker-actor hybrid. That's a character I want to see.
So it's a JRPG, turn-based combat. You engage enemies by walking into them, and then it goes into your turn-based combat.
Robotech?
Close enough. Robotrek.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
I actually didn't know that Robotrek was the title. I thought it was a Robotech game. Sorry.
No,
I
close.
think that's close enough. Just
Close
by
enough
virtue
for me.
The sound.
I saw some people in chat had it, so
Damn.
Robotrek.
I'll be
also
honest,
called-
I pretty much know the whole SNES library. So.
There you go.
Damn, dude.
This is supposedly called Slapstick in Japan because it's a comedy, but they rebranded it for America so it would sell more.
Nice.
Gotcha.
There you go.
Cool.
All right.
Roboneck.
All right, he's
Roboneck.
technically 1 for 3 so far, right?
That's
Yeah, so
bullshit.
far-
If Nick's not going to give us Onimusha when it's like Onimusha Soul's Desire, he doesn't get Robo Trek for saying Robotech.
If you don't want to give it to me, it's all right.
I'm just going by your standards. You made your bet. Now you're going to lie.
I understand. I wouldn't ask for you to compromise.
All right, Ryan, you go ahead.
This is an RPG developed by Compile Heart with collaboration from G-Crest, published by NIS America in 2013. The main protagonist of this game, Choo Choo, plans to conquer the universe by subjugating the 7 worlds it comprises, as she thinks the planet looks pretty. Traveling from world to world with her trusty companion Atlas and loyal peon Ryutu, Choo Choo aims to turn the heroes and demon lords of each world into her peons, saving the world from conflict in the process.
Platform?
PS3 as well as Microsoft Windows.
That's weird.
And I assume it's an RPG.
Mm-hmm.
Bing bong.
Yeah, do I just start naming all the PS3 RPGs?
Oh, please do. Yeah, let's rattle them off.
Choo choo, man. Choo choo.
It's not Disgaea. It's some... There was a cross game that I'm now blanking on the name of. I don't think it was that either.
Motocross Madness?
No.
ATV Off-Road Fury
Shit.
2.
Yo, that was a great game.
It was fun.
ATV Off-Road Fury 1 had Spoonman by Soundgarden in it.
Can you tell me anything about the combat?
Gameplay revolves around exploration and turn-based open-field combat, and the game also includes minigames and customization.
There might just be too many JRPGs for me to know this.
Just list them off, man.
No, I'm not. I think I just don't know this one. What is it?
All right.
Mugen Souls.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got that.
Mugen Souls.
You got
I
box
have
art?
heard of it, but I wouldn't have guessed it.
You got a box for me? I want to see that box.
No,
No
it's
box?
on Steam.
All right.
No, actually, I didn't even realize that was on Windows either. So that, yeah, double got me on that one.
Mugen Souls.
Kate's like, it's so obvious. Kate, you play these
This
games.
is your game.
I've kind of fallen out of the JRPG scene since about maybe 2008. I haven't really bought anymore. So I'm
Understandable.
not as good as I used to be at those.
All right.
Kate's like, I have the chibi figures. It's so obvious.
All right. So you're one for two. Let's see if you you either get a better or a worse failing grade, because you're gonna get either 66 or a 33%. So really, at this point, it just doesn't even matter. This is either a pass or fail, really. All right. Here you go. This is this game released in 2003 on the PlayStation 2.
Okay.
Published by Square Enix. Developed.
All three are doing RPGs, huh?
We sure are. Developed
When we
by
think weird games, we think JRPG.
developed by Tri-Ace. Here we go. 12 heroes thwarted the 10 wise men's plot to destroy the universe. 400 years have since passed. The date is SD 772. The Pan-Galactic Federation is at the zenith of its might.
Star Ocean.
Damn it.
You're gonna throw this guy Star Ocean? The new one just came out like 2 days ago.
Which one is it? Which
give
one?
me a sec. I gotta look at my shelf.
No,
and
it's
I can
cheating.
tell
All
you.
of them.
Hey, I got a weird game for you. It stars a portly plumber from Brooklyn who goes into a mushroom kingdom.
Look, it was between that and Katamari Damacy, and I knew I was going to get a lot more shit for that one than I would have gotten for this one. Which one is it, Nick?
I'm a little surprised you went with a Star Ocean game. That's not that obscure.
You're not done yet, man. I'm not letting you off the hook.
I
Give me
don't-
that subtitle.
I don't remember the title, and I actually
Give me
don't
that
have it.
damn subtitle. You got 0.5 points in 2 rounds. There you go. Congrats.
Star Ocean.
Till the end of time.
The world is.
You are not Nick. We're playing. We're playing games Weird Nicks, and you butchered it.
I
God
was
damn
like,
it.
which one does Bear probably have? The PS2 one.
Sorry, it's
Yeah, that was
backwards.
fun.
You can't see it. All right, yeah. This was one of my favorite games when I was a kid, man. I loved Till the End of Time. This is a fun-ass game. All right, well, yeah, that was fun. That was good. I enjoyed that. So thanks, Scroddy, for the question. That's the Inverse Nick's Weird Games, which leads
If
us...
you have more, like, I'm up for doing more of that if you ever want.
Yeah. I mean, my collection is basically run dry. We had the one time...
You had one.
No, we had one. That was mine. That was back when we had me do it for some reason. That was when I did Legend of Legaia. And that was that was my winner. And then beyond that, my least relevant game I own after that is Star Ocean Till the End of Time. So I've got a very limited selection. Yeah.
I'm surprised you all went with RPGs and that I got 2 of them, but all right, thank you. Thank you for that. That was
good.
fun.
Well, now we get to go into everybody's actual favorite segment, which is Nick's Weird Games. Right away. It's just a natural
Yes, we
progression.
do.
You ready for that?
Pretty much, yeah. Do you want to do any transition, or are we just getting ready?
I mean, we're basically already in the mood for it, right? I
We're
think
in there already.
we're all set in our...
We're in mindset.
That's right.
We in there, boys.
That's
All right.
right.
Today, I've got for you a Xbox One, not Xbox One, original Xbox and Windows game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, shit.
All right. This game
Fusion
was
Frenzy.
developed. No. This game was developed by Microids and published by the Adventure Company in the North American region. Published by MC2 in the EU. So this is an adventure game, as you might guess. Adventure mystery. They're classifying it on the box as an investigative thriller. And I'll read you an excerpt.
What year did this come out?
Right, the year was for Xbox. Oh, actually, both of them is 2005.
Okay.
Single player only. Something is taking the lives of innocent victims, and a trail of disturbing clues is drawing you in. Victoria McPherson is a brilliant young FBI agent investigating a serial murder case in Chicago. The body count is now at 5, and she has no solid leads, a mountain of circumstantial evidence, and a boss who's breathing down her neck. Upon reviewing an old case file, Victoria is shocked to find an astonishingly high number of similarities between a 75-year-old case and the current string of killings. This game is a gripping investigation that will go far beyond your imagination. It features interesting characters and detailed 3D environments. It offers original and creative puzzles, and you can help stop a serial killer before it's too late. I think that's what I got for you on that one.
I am in the dark.
Sounds like a game on
It's rated
Steam.
M for mature, and it is on Steam as well, yes.
Was it on Xbox, though?
Yeah, it was, because I'm holding it in my hands.
I only know about this game because my friend has it, and he loved it, but is it...
What is it?
Is it Still Life?
Yes, it is actually.
Why did you have to add
Got
a
it.
caveat to it?
Because I never played it before, but I didn't know that was on Xbox.
Why does it always have to be like, well, I would have never played this, but I had a friend
No,
who had it.
My friend is he's a super into morbid games, and then he has that one.
You nailed
Damn.
it. Still
yeah,
life.
good
Still
job,
life.
man. Well done. Okay, we got another Nick's Weird Games
That's good.
point.
Well
Shit.
done.
Good job.
We
We've
really-
got a lot of good
Oh,
ones
the
today.
Xbox.
So you had
I did
to
not know.
you lost points for every game you didn't guess, right? Well, obviously, we got back up on the
We're getting
on the
back on
standings
it.
on you.
I'm not sure how to rate it, but we all did a good job, I think.
Yeah, we all contributed today.
Let's see who got it in chat. I see
Mm-hmm.
Apocryph. Is that how you say that? Is the first one I see there, so congratulations, and thank you for guessing.
Oh yeah,
Still life. And
Awesome.
it was on Xbox. You can see it right
cool.
there.
sweet.
There's a sequel, isn't there?
Yes, there is a Still Life 2, and I think there's a spiritual sequel as well. That was sort of like a side game.
Are you guys thinking about Still Alive, the song from the end of Portal?
Still alive.
It's a good song.
Yeah, well, it's up there. That's
Very
for sure.
sticky.
I like the Jonathan Colton cover of that song from the end of Portal.
I mean, he wrote the song, right?
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I like
It
Jonathan
wasn't
Colton.
written by GLaDOS.
She wrote it.
I like GLaDOS wrote the whole plot of Portal.
Yeah, it's true.
Thanks for watching this episode of Roundtable Live, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. This was a little bit shorter than usual. We had a semi-scarce docket. I'm sure we'll be back with more stuff next week. Sometimes things don't happen. That's just the way the world works, but we'll do our best to commentate on whatever we can find all the same. And thank you very much to those of you who support our silly little babblings over there on patreon.com/roundtable. Want to take a special consideration for those of you that are supporting at the $20 level and above, which include General Crunk, Jonathan Graham, Matt, Julian Abelsgard, Scroddy119, thank you again for the question, Nerdy is Fly, David Schmitz, Greenlight, Mavier, Brizzlebrip, Oren Saltzman, Myth Scarab, Eric Schooley, Mediocrities, Super Monoman, Smurfette, Logan Ray, Christopher Flagg, Justin, and Positron. Thank you guys so much. Many of you who have been supporting the podcast since February of 2015. Jesus. That's weird to think about, but thank you very much for continuing to support the show over there. You can go catch the show discussion over on roundtablepodcast.reddit.com. You can download the show on iTunes and SoundCloud. You can rate the show 5 stars on iTunes as well, and follow us over on Twitter at RoundtablePC. We'll be back next week here for episode 50. There's another weird thing to think about. Goddamn.
Wow.
It's episode 50 time. So we'll be back here July 15th at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, here on twitch.tv/Roundtable Podcast to do that show. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Hey,
Letting us do 50 episodes. That's awesome.
hurry up, man. I gotta go get in my 2-hour practice session of Dead by Daylight.
Oh, yeah.